Hi everyone. So this is going to be the second lecture in the series of business analytics course. And in this video, I will be starting up with the week one, which is basically your basics of data visualization. Frankly, this week does not carry much weightage because most of the question paper would be numerical based. But yes, because that is also, data visualization and dashboard building is one important aspect of business analytics. So we also have some basic principles, and I hope you have watched the lectures. Like professor has shared some tips which you should avoid and which should be followed while making charts and all. So go through those slides, go through the tips which were shared, and what kind of things you should definitely be very cautious of, like the scale and all those factors in the chart. These are very important. So just go through the slides regarding the theory part, and precisely, I would be doing PYQ because this week is not something which needs a lot of explanation. It's very self-explanatory in my opinion. So I hope my screen is visible. And now, yeah. So as I said, this is first week, basics of data visualization. Now one question is here that, this is not from any PYQ, but a general question, how you would use which kind of chart. So if you have access to box plot, line chart, column stack chart, histogram, scatter plot, bar chart, pie chart, which chart type is used for which purpose. So you have different purpose. Maybe you want to show some proportion. Maybe you want to guess a distribution. Maybe you want to do correlation analysis, trend analysis, outlier analysis, comparison, and compare parts of a whole. So when do you think which distribution is being used? Which chart would be the most appropriate for which session? So let's think, what do you think should be the correct option and how we can proceed with this one. So let me tell you, I think the first thing which I can think from student points of view is that you know outlier detection. This thing, outlier detection, we know, uh, from our stats 1, stats 2, that we use box plot. Why box plot? Box plot or something like this, if you remember, you will have uh, this kind of box. This would be a mean and this thing. So everything within this box is basically your interquartile range. First quartile, Q1, this is your median, and this is your Q3, right? So everything within this box is your interquartile range. Everything above 1.5 times the interquartile range would be something outlier. So that is why this kind of are box plot charts are used a lot for outlier detection, and therefore this is the correct option for your outlier detection. So basically you will be using box plot for this kind of situation. Now coming to this thing, uh, line chart. So if you don't know, line charts are simply something like this, which go with respect to time. So you will have some value on the y-axis and then probably time or some month, these kind of things, and then you will have these kind of charts. So let's say this is for company A and this is for company B. So you can compare how these companies are working. So that is why line chart is used for trend analysis, how which kind of trend is being followed. Then we have option of column stacked chart. Now let's think for a time, what is a column stack chart? So if you know, column stack chart is going to be something like this, and each column is going to have different proportions. So maybe I have this column and this column has this. So this is something a typical column chart would look like. So basically this is being used to compare how uh, one, like this is, let's say, person one, this is person two, and let's say uh, different sources of income. Let's say this is income from source one, source two, this is source three, right? Similarly, source one, source two, source three, and source four. So this column stack chart is used to actually prepare your parts from one whole thing. So this is important, parts of a whole. So this is important part. You should know that column stack chart is used to compare parts of a whole. So basically one thing which has lot of parts, we use column stack chart to compare those things. Now we have histogram. I think it's very much obvious. When you want to check, if some distribution is being followed or not, we plot the histogram. So how does histogram look? If you know, we will have bins and we will be, making plots like this. So let's say you want to check if the distribution is normal or not. You will, do the binning and then plot the histogram. And you can see this kind of follows the bell curve. Therefore, very likely this is a normal. So distribution. So therefore, histograms are used to guess distribution. Now we have option for scatter plot, bar chart and pie chart. So what do you think scatter plot helps us? How does a scatter plot look like? So scatter plot generally look like this thing. You will have, let's say uh, some variable 1, x1 and x2. So you will have scatter plot like this. So this is basically generally used in your trend checking if if there is some kind of correlation. So here you can see if x increases, x2 also increases. But let's say if we are in this kind of situation, this is x1, this is x2, and you have this kind of dots, then it's very likely that when your x1 increases, x2 decreases. So this kind of scatter plot is actually used in your correlation analysis a lot. So therefore scatter plot के लिए we will be choosing correlation analysis. Scatter plot is correlation analysis. And now we are left with bar chart and we have left with pie chart. So I think bar chart and pie chart are pretty much obvious that to do comparison, you will be using bar charts if you want to compare two people if they have something or not. So we will be using bar chart like a situation, this person and this person. So this month, or maybe this person has more height, or maybe this person has more money. So let's say person one, person two, and these are money. So we can definitely see person two has more money. So that is why we use bar chart for doing comparison. And pie chart is used for proportion. Why proportion? Because let's say you are building one thing and 30% probably goes in something, the rest of the percent goes somewhere else, this percent goes somewhere else. Obviously this is more like a 90 degrees, so not 30 obviously, but you can take a guess. So this is how your pie chart would look like. One important thing which you should know, that pie chart should always add up to 100%, or in fractions it should be 1. This is very important. If you have some percentages which do not add up to 100%, that means your pie chart is faulty. So this is something which professor has highlighted, and make sure you remember this thing, and you will see few examples where these type of questions are being asked. So this was the first question. Now let's see this question. This is from some past year question paper. Now they're asking which of the following graphs are not recommended slash correct for the use. So if you recall some definitions and the points which sir has said to check. So maybe you can see this graph is definitely not something suitable to use. Why? Because this is in your A graph is in the 3D variation. So if you remember, pie charts should be only in the 2D variation, because 3D variation of pie charts is going to give you some kind of visual what do we say it gives you some it creates some visual perception. So even though this is from the front side, maybe this is not actually good, but from this angle this pie looks very good. So that is why pie chart should be always 2D. 3D pie charts look maybe fancy for presentation, but in actual use case they are visually misleading. So don't use this thing. Now, because lot of questions would be MCQ, you can definitely see this should be one of the options. So it's for sure going to be something from here. Now, if you look here, you have numbers here. Probably you can zoom out in the PYQ section. This is 32,000 something, something, something. So numbers I do not care of. If there is percentage of fraction, that should be something very important, because uh, you can convert these numbers back to percentages by adding. So that is not something uh, which can cause me issue. Now I need to check here and here. Now this is a bar chart which is telling me the uh, you know, maybe share 70%, 60%, 65%. So this is, for comparison. Brand A has this much thing, this percentage, this percentage. Here, if you see, On the other hand, you have percentages. Brand C is having 65, this is having 70, and this percentage is again 60. So how can these three percentages add up to 100%? This is not happening. So that is why this option, which is your A and 2, this one is going to be wrong one. So I hope it is very much clear. A is wrong because 3D pie charts are visually misleading. This one is wrong because even though this is 2D, but all the percentages are not adding up to 100. And this is for comparison, so this is okay. These three percentages need not to be adding up to 100. Okay. Now let's see the next question, question 3. It says, if the aim is to highlight behavior of the product sales in the past year, then which of the following visualization would be best suited? So if you go back to first question, which we were seeing, which kind of purpose do you see, being used in that question? We wanted to check behavior of the product sales in the past year. So basically, we are doing some kind of trend analysis. And for trend analysis, we use line chart. Now, if you see here, they both are comparing the same values. But what is the main difference here is that here you have line chart. This looks, pretty much clean. It directly shows me that, with respect to time, uh, I think company B, which is basically orange company, it goes down. But the company B, which is blue, it goes up. So that is why this line chart is very much, helpful to understand the trend in general. But if you look at this thing, the issue in this graph is that this also has the same values, 20, 10, 19, 11, 19, 11, same thing, same values here. The issue is that they have stacked, they have columns. This creates, lot of visual information to me, and probably it can, take some time for me to understand what is happening and what is my main purpose. But the moment you see these lines, we are going to compare the trend. The orange company was going down, blue company was going up. So that is why appropriate, I mean, you can use both if you want. If you want to justify that, definitely yes. But the more suited version would be option one, which is this one, because you are using some clean data visualization. You don't have extra information. Everything is pretty much obvious, right? Now the next question is, when pie chart is best visualization option for presenting data, choose all that is are applicable. So basically, uh, whatever options you can see here, which are the best suited for the pie chart. For the outlier detection in the dataset, if you remember the first question which we did, outlier detection is done by box plot. So definitely this is not a correct option. When trends in the data need to be shown, again, line charts are used for trends. When relationship between variables need to be shown, definitely not. This is not something which you can show with pie chart. So these all three are wrong, and the correct answer would be none of these. Now, similarly, coming to this question, the question says, given figure 1, what is the message that can be best conveyed through the graph? Best conveyed through the graph. So you have average mileage in kilometer per hour liter and average car weight per liter. So basically you have two, these things, car models A, B, C, D, E. So there are, five car models. And then you also have average mileage as well as average car weight. Okay. So which options do you think would be correct? Mileage is trend for different model. No. Car relationship between car weight and mileage, relationship between models and their car weight. Car model wise minimum and maximum average mileage and average car weights. So let's see. Model wise relationship between car weight and mileage. Car weight and mileage wise uh, trend for different models. Mileage wise relationship between models and their car. So one thing which you would see here in the words which we can see is that, car model wise, mileage wise. So if you see, this is the x-axis. On the x-axis we have models, so definitely one option, the option should have something related to model. So therefore I can see that maybe I'm just telling you how to eliminate. I know the correct option, but just going as a student, model wise this one can be correct. Car wise, uh, mileage weightage, that is also for different model. Car weight wise, no. Not weight wise. Mileage wise relationship, no. car model wise minimum and maximum average. So these two seem suitable to me. And these relationship between model and car, no relationship between car weightage. There is no relationship between car and sorry, mileage and weight. The relationship between is between weight and the model, mileage and the model. So that is why this is also wrong. Mileage trend, no, we also have weight, so this is also wrong. So probably you need to choose in between these two. Now read these statements and see what is given and what could be the correct option. Model wise relationship between car weight and mileage. Here we have model wise minimum and maximum average weight, car weights and average mileage. So you can see it from here as well, that we can see that, model wise, D is having minimum mileage, but the weight is high. And same vice versa is happening with the model E. Model E has maximum weight, sorry, minimum weight, but the maximum mileage. So therefore, this option suits best to be. Now this question, very what do I say, misleading, and a lot of people lost marks in this. But thanks to mistake done by the team while setting the question paper, there was one issue in the question, and therefore this question was made open marks. That means every person who attended this question gave any answer, regardless of the answer, was given full marks. So you will see when a question is wrong, then team gives full marks in case you have attended. If you are not selecting any option, you won't be getting marks. So this is one important thing which you should keep in mind whenever you are doing any quiz 1, quiz 2 and term. Because we don't have any negative marking, always select any option. Even though if it is a guess, try to select it. That is something which I would always advise you. So now let's read the question. From the given figure, which of the following statements are true? So the number of pirates do not increase with the global average temperature increase. There is a positive correlation between number of pirates and global average temperature increase. There is no correlation between number of pirates and global average temperature increase. None of the above. In general, everyone was selecting this one. There is a positive this thing. There is a positive correlation between number of pirates and the global average temperature. Why? We have global average temperature here, number of pirates here. But the catch was, even though this trend looks like increasing, the numbers on this slide are actually decreasing. So actually, you have this kind of trend. They have showed you mirror image, and that is why this graph is misleading. Ideally, the option would be opposite. None of these. The correct option, which I would have selected, would be none of these because that is the most suitable I could think of. But because there was one small mistake, if you see here, this one, this part. So here in this, what happened? That your 45,000 was placed before 35,000. So this was kind of a mismatch. Basically, everything is increasing from right to left, but this was one issue. So that is why this single error made this question open marks, and everyone got marks who attended this question. So I hope you got a basic crux. What kind of problem statements would be coming? Most probably they would be asking question based on this thing. Which kind of distribution should be used and what is the main purpose? So definitely star market, remember all the distributions and know these things very importantly. Which chart has problem in the visual misleading, like pie chart 3D version is usually misleading, right? Pie chart, all the percentages should add up to 100. So this is very important thing for every chart. I think in the uh, lecture professor has discussed these things. So please go ahead, watch the recordings and see which chart is used when, what is the misleading part, when to catch, how to catch. Like in this, you had a 3D version not adding up to 100. But if you look here, in this, it was, the axis was reversed. So in general, people just look at the trend. So be very cautious while doing these kind of questions. And yeah, that's it for week one. Week one is pretty, simple. Everyone scores good marks. You can expect 2 mark question or 1 mark question in week one from in your quiz one. So that's it from my side for this week. Best of luck, everyone. For this week, definitely go through the slides because they are very important. As these small, small points that when does a chart become misleading? when is a scale misleading, which kind of scale is used when. So these things are very important, and therefore you need to refer the lectures. I hope you enjoyed the session, and goodbye everyone.